Hello and welcome to Endeavor's 10-part information mini-series overviewing demand planning for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Contact Endeavor's support desk for those on GP or NAV, as there are upgrade paths to have access to these functions. We will be showcasing out-of-the-box functions and field descriptions for manufacturing setup, item cards, stock items, forecasting, and planning worksheet calculations. Now with that said, let's jump right into the manufacturing setup page. Yaz, over to you.
All right, so the manufacturing setup page, I hope you can see my screen. So you'll see some parameters here. We're not going to talk about all the fields that relate to manufacturing, but we will zoom in on the fields that we talked about initially for the global planning setup. So you can see the dynamic low-level code here, and that's basically how we tell the system that if you're planning for an assembly, please take into consideration the components as well, okay? Now, however, if you're a current Business Central user and you haven't worked with this field before and you navigate to your manufacturing setup page and you see that it's turned off, then you would probably turn it on. However, I would recommend that you also run this job. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of issues with planning that a current Business Central user is having would probably disappear as soon as we run this job right here. Okay. Now, in my case, I already calculated the low-level code, so I don't need to do that. It's going to take some time. But basically, this kind of teaches the system all the sub-layers of assemblies, sub-assemblies, and components that go into making the main assembly. Okay. And it's a very important field for the planning engine to operate properly. Next, we have, let's see, the current demand forecast. So as I said, there's multiple demand forecasts for sales or purchasing. As you can see, for 2023, I have two, right? So I can tell the system, if I'm planning by default, then please take 2023-A in consideration and make it the default demand forecast, okay? If I don't want that, then I can take it out and I can leave the flexibility of choosing which forecast. So for example, in my case here, I just use the 2023 demand forecast, and I have the split between production forecast or sale forecast embedded within this code, okay? You could create a completely different demand forecast and give it a code production, or and the other one would be sales. Okay. In my case, I've been using the system for a while, so I just defaulted to using both, and I just created this one as an example that you could have multiple in place, so that we can show that you could use one of them or you can leave it as blank. Okay. So in my case, just to make my life easier for the demo, I'm going to use 2023-A moving forward.
Thanks, Yaz. What a great overview of the manufacturing setup page. To get full access to the mini-series or to find out how Endeavor can optimize your inventory management for manufacturers, resellers, wholesalers, and distributors, visit endeavorsolutions.ca/demand.